Okay, so here's the second half of 1.6, the absolute value inequalities. Now that we've done absolute value equations, we will be able to solve these. Now, when you graph an absolute value, we need to think about the absolute value of any number. Where are the numbers that are going to be more than 3 units from 0? So let's think about a number line. How many numbers have an absolute value of 3? Where would those be? And the absolute values of 3, those two numbers would be -3 and 3. Now, if we have numbers that are more than that, that becomes all of these beyond +3 and all these beyond -3. So when we take the absolute value and it is greater than 3, we have to go to all of these numbers beyond +3 and all these numbers beyond -3. So if we look at that graph, then that becomes an OR, if you think about what we have done with the compound inequalities. Now, when we have an absolute value that is less than 3, what are the numbers that are less than 3 units from 0? Well, if we think about the number line, and we know the two numbers, again, that have an absolute value of 3, -3 and 3, what are the numbers that are less than 3 and between 3 and -3? That's, like your 2 and your 1 and your 0. And if we shade those in, then that becomes a conjunction. That has to be an and. And so that when we take a look at the actual graph, then we know what this statement is going to be, whether we have a conjunction, a union, or an intersection. Okay, so when we look at this and try to figure out what we have to do as far as solving it, a moment ago, that was the visual to kind of know what is our graph going to be like and to know, what you're headed for as far as what the graphs are going to be. Now, how do we go about actually solving a problem? What are we going to do? We've got this less than. So you can kind of guess at, what will our graph be? We've got less than. What did we do when we had the less than? Well, we're probably going to have an intersection. But how do we go about writing them? Do you remember what we did with the equations? How we had a positive case and we had a negative case, where we just took our expression and we kept it the same, and then the next time we did the negative of the entire thing. Well, we're going to do that again. We're not going to mess with our inequality symbol, and we're not going to mess with this integer out here. We're going to keep that, and the only thing that we're going to do is do the opposite of our entire expression inside the absolute value symbols. There's our bell. And then we're going to solve. And so here, of course, we have to distribute this -1 out here, right? So -1 times 3x and -1 times +6. So we have like one more step over here on the negative side as we solve through that inequality, which of course means that we're also going to have to divide by a negative integer, which is going to flip this inequality symbol. And of course, then we're going to graph those. Now, be careful here. Lots of people like to go, okay, so I know I'm going to have like that union, or excuse me, that intersection looking graph. So they'll go below 1 and above, they'll try to just look at it because, oh, this is on the right and this is on the left, and they'll graph it and they go, oh, but it looks like a union. But pay attention to what the number itself is. This says less than +1. Where's that +1? Oh, well, it's over here. And this is greater than -5. Where's the -5? It's over here. So pay attention to what the actual numbers are. You do know it's supposed to look like an intersection, but what does that look like? So here's your 1, and here's your -5. So be real careful about what the actual solutions are. You do know it's supposed to look like an intersection. Okay, so we have a greater than here. Remember what that concept was in the very first part of the notes. So probably what a union should be. So here's our two pieces. Here's a positive where we left the expression alone. Here's the negative where we did the opposite of the expression, solved. And here's our two solutions. So greater than 3, which should be over here, less than -1, which should be over here. And lo and behold, there it is. So there we go. And we'll do some more examples when we get into class together.